Greetings and salutations everybody, my name is MiAh the King, and today we're looking at a game that just released on Steam called Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town. It has been around 3 weeks since I last posted a video, or pretty much did anything at all. This has been due to personal reasons, and that stupid Steam event that happened at the beginning of the month. It was difficult for me to find any newly released games and navigate the store, so I just figured I'd wait, and that took way too long. Side note, by the way, I do apologize if you can hear my children in the background. I'm going to do my absolute darndest to make it so you cannot hear them or so they do not disturb this, but I do apologize if you hear them anyway. Wife is working and I'm staying at home taking care of them, so but I wanted to get this video out to you guys as soon as possible, so here we are anyway. Okay, but anyway, you guys don't care about any of that. You're here to find out if this game is worth it or not. I mean, it is asking for $50 frickin' after all, and that's a lot of moolah. So, this game was developed by Marvelous Inc., who I've never actually really heard of, at least not since I started doing YouTube stuff. But it was published by Xseed Games, who I'm sure plenty of people have heard of. They are the ones who published the Trails in the Sky and the Trails of Cold Steel games. You know, Legend of Heroes, know what I'm talking about? Okay, good. The point is, this game is pretty much what it looks like to you. It's a farming simulator. It's casual, and on the story page it also says it's RPG? Well, let's dive in and take a look at this game and see if it's worth all that money or worth any of your time or if it's going to be worth anything at all. Now, I'm not too sure if this game is one of several in the same vein or if it's a brand new game, so for all of you out there who do know more than I, also know this is my first game in this vein. I have played My Time at Portia, Stardew Valley, and way back in the day when I was a much younger tot, I even played Harvest Moon. Something about these simple farming games where you can have friends, fun little adventures, get married, have kids, and grow your farm/business. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but these games, they really speak to me. I really enjoy them. So I have high hopes for this one, and even despite its incredible price tag. As I'm approaching this game, waiting for its release, I was thinking, this game had better be worth it. I'll give it the standard 2 hours to make me want to keep it for $50. If it doesn't do anything awesome in these first 2 hours, then I'm definitely not keeping it. It's too expensive. But on the other hand, it looks pretty good, and it was published by Xseed Games, and I'm fond of a lot of the games that they've put out, and I was thinking in the back of my mind that, you know, this is probably going to be really good. The story is about what you'd expect, and if you frequent games like this often, then you'll already be familiar with the so-called story, which is your grandparents or parents died or are missing, and you inherited their farm and or workshop. Let your new life begin. I mean, I suppose that's fine and dandy for this kind of game, but just once I wish it was something a bit different, like you yourself got annoyed with the daily life you previously had, and on a whim you took out a loan and bought yourself a cheap farm. Why was it being sold cheap? Well, let's find out as we play through the story or something along those lines. Ooh, what about this? What about a farming game set in the medieval times or something, you know, in the middle of a kingdom going through war? So along with your fun simulation life part of the game, there's also the demands from the kingdom requesting more and more produce from you of higher and higher quality. Now that'd be pretty cool, right? Or, what about this? A game that's like My Time at Portia, except you're a kind of blacksmith engineer who's trying to produce better weapons for your kingdom while also trying to live your normal life. But, and here's the cool part, that wouldn't really be like the main part of the game. You could affect the outcome of the war based on how many weapons and tools you produced along with the quality, and you could choose to take more contracts to fulfill for the military than for civilian, so you could affect the war or you could affect the economy. See, now that would be a really cool take on an age-old genre. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about this game and how it fares in today's day and age, shall we? The first thing I saw when starting up the game was the resolution was absolute garbage. I could only see a tiny corner of the game on my screen. It was infuriating as there was no way for me to fix this issue from within the game, so I had to go about trying to change the settings from outside of the game, so I could get it to work. But for some reason this caused the game to be written in whatever form of language this game was created in. I'm guessing it's Japanese. So obviously I couldn't read any of that. I also couldn't change it back to English because I can't read freaking Japanese. When trying to go back to the store page, the game had disappeared from Steam completely. Things didn't bode well for me. But I'm dedicated, so I kept trying. I uninstalled the game and reinstalled it, hoping this might fix it. But it was still written in, I'm guessing here, Japanese. This caused me to get a little bit irritated as I tried really hard to get this game working, and everything I was trying was simply not working. And since the game was just released, there was nothing online about how to fix this yet, and here I am struggling like a moron to try and figure this out. I had to look up what English looks like while written in Japanese, but thanks to that, I was able to get it back to normal, or at least back to English. So now that it was in English, I fiddled with the graphics to try to make it work, and it still wasn't working, thus forcing me to play the game in windowed mode. So if my recording seems a bit messed up, you know why. I had a little bit of issues trying to get the game going at first. The game's optimization is utter garbage, at least in that aspect. But once I did get into the game, I was able to change the resolution, go to full screen, and fix it. But man, the journey from A to B was ridiculous. So that's the first negative bit of information I have for you guys. But now that that's fixed, it looks like everything is working for now. But okay then. Besides that huge hiccup at the beginning, the game was actually rather nice. I started to play it now that I got the whole massive hiccup thing fixed, and it was about what I was expecting. Now, is that a good thing or not? Well, let's check it out with the good and the bad. We're first going to start off with the negatives that I found in this game, because those are the ones that first come to mind. Number one is obviously that whole problem I had in the beginning of the game. That was a pretty awful way to release your game, not going to lie. Not only that, but disappearing from the Steam store temporarily was... that was awful. Now, I think there was an update shortly after which might have fixed this, but that's unconfirmed. All I know is that there was an update to Steam, and then I was able to go back to the store page of the game. So I don't know, but it's not confirmed, but I think that's what happened. But that whole hiccup almost made me quit entirely, but that wouldn't have been fair or honest. Number two is the lack of voice acting. Now, for a game like this, that's actually not that big of a deal. I mean, Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley didn't have any voice acting either, and those games are great. But after my time at Porsche, I was at least hoping for just a little bit, but like I said, this is a very minor negative. Number three is the art style. Now, this is also a positive, so stick with me here. The overall art style is very beautiful and well done. It's pretty, it's pleasant on the eyes, and not too bright or disorganized. The terrain isn't crowded with a bunch of useless stuff just to add pointless color. It's all very pleasing. However, when you get to the characters, their art style just doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the art scheme. And not only that, everyone except for a select few look like they're children. Now, I don't know if they're supposed to be children, or if they're supposed to be adults who are just drawn that way. And it's very difficult to determine which is which, that you're just going to find yourself guessing. Basically, it's just too confusing with the art style. That's all. Not even confusing so much as it is just disconcerting. It's watching it's like having stone next to, like a stone block next to a wooden block. It doesn't look right. You know what I mean? You want stone and stone, or wood and wood. You don't want two separate ones. That's all. It's a minor thing. It's a personal hang-up for me, but I still think it's a little bit of a negative here. Number four is that some of the animations, well, while overall the animations are just fine, great even, they take a little bit too much time. Like, it takes forever to take care of your crops, or chop a tree, or whatever. But, you know, this is just another minor negative, and this is probably just because I was on a time limit. I think if I could just sit down and enjoy the game, it might not bug me so much, but I feel like I should at least say something for those people out there who are maybe hoping that it'll be a little bit faster. It's not. It's still going to be a pretty decent, slow-paced, kind of farming, taking care of stuff kind of thing, if that made any sense to you people at all. And number five, the last negative, is that darn price tag. $50? I mean, holy cow, the absolute only reason I can imagine this game being worth that much would be its graphics. It does nothing else to warrant such a price tag, and that is a big negative in my book. But as far as negatives go, there isn't really that much, and what's there is mostly minor except for that price tag. I still just can't get over how expensive it is, how much they're asking for this. But now, however, we are going to go into the positives of the game. And for that, I've got a lot to say. But I would just end up droning on, so I'm just going to sum it up for you. Take my word for it. You're looking at the video right now of gameplay, so you can see for yourself a lot of these things. Number one, the graphics. They are beautiful and nice to look at. They're pleasant on the eyes. I mentioned that a lot earlier, so I'm not going to go further. Number two, the game is very in-depth. It's got doctors, churches, police, different types of stores for lots of different reasons, different animals to tend to, different crops to tend to, different seasons, different events, different places to explore, including but not limited to a hot spring, a mountaintop, and different mining areas. It's crazy how much is here. Like, the one thing you play these games but never really think of is things like churches, like religion, or police. You never really think of those things in these games because these games are normally very peaceful and pleasant and nice. So you never really think about it or care. But in this game, they're like, no, there's police. I mean, this is real life, right? So there's police, there's going to be a church, there's going to be these different things. So it makes sense, and it was just one of those, it was a very small thing that just made me smile because I was like, now that's attention to detail. That's depthness, if that's even a word. Number 3 is the game has its events to bond with people or to experience life in this new town. A bunch of little events and different things you can partake in, which is really cool. Kind of like my time at Portia. I like that a lot. Number 4 is the game is simple enough to learn quickly, but difficult enough to make it worth paying attention. It's reached a fine balance of being casual, but being dedicated. Number 5, besides that massive hiccup in the beginning of the game when it first released, I didn't have any other technical problems. There's no crashes, no freezing, no bugs, no clipping, no screen tearing, no nothing. So, I don't know what the first hiccup was, but everything else seemed to be working just fine with the game. Number 6, obviously the length of time of this game is going to be massive. I mean, after playing for 2 hours, I barely got anything done, yet it felt like I had done a lot. Meaning, you're going to be able to sink some massive playtime into this, and as far as I'm concerned, long length is always a good thing for a game. If they're going to take my money, they better take my time too. That's what I got to say about that. And number 7, the last one, the sounds and the music. It's all just so chipper and cheerful and just nice to listen to. It works so well that even if you're playing for several hours, the sounds aren't going to become annoying. And I know because I just played for almost 2 hours straight. And the few times I noticed it, it was nice. And other than that, it just complemented the rest of the gameplay perfectly. They didn't drone on, they weren't annoying, it wasn't ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? You know, they feel like they belong. And that's key. That's key, everybody. So, for my summary, overall, the game is more like Harvest Moon and less like Stardew Valley, or my time at Portia. There's no fighting or combat, at least not in my first 2 hours, not even a hint or a promise for future combat. So in that essence, it's a lot more like Harvest Moon. You harvest crops, take care of animals, build up your farm with tons of various customizations and whatnot. You can get married and hopefully have kids, and explore the large map while bonding with your fellow townsfolk. It's a simple, pleasant, and peaceful slice-of-life farming game. It's not fast-paced, it's not exciting, and it doesn't really have an in-depth plot. So if those are a must for you, then you might want to go back to My Time at Portia. But if you're just looking for a simple, fun, nice little farming simulator game with slice-of-life aspects, then I definitely recommend this one. However, I also have to say that even though I really enjoy this game, and I intend to keep it and play it for probably the rest of the week, I cannot recommend it at that price. So far, in my time frame, I haven't really noticed anything to make the game worthy of that much money. Now, I understand the whole paying for translations and shipping deals and blah 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 that they have to pay so that they can sell the game around the world, but even so, $50 for a game like this? I mean, My Time at Portia is $30, Harvest Moon on Steam is $30, Stardew Valley is $15, and in those games, you'd get pretty much the exact same thing you're getting here. So, for $50, I just can't endorse the game right now. However, that is also with only 2 hours in. I mean, this isn't a deep dive review, it's merely a 2-hour first impressions review video thingy that I do. Not quite a first impressions, not quite a review. It's the time it takes to analyze a game, and if it turns out to be crap, still have time to get a refund and not waste money needlessly. But for this game, I will be keeping it and playing it a lot more. But man, that $50 is redonkulous. For the same price, I could buy My Time at Portia and Stardew Valley with money left over. I mean, to put it simply, if this is a first for you, and you're wondering if you should branch out into games like this, and this one's got a lot of great reviews, so I should take a look at this, don't start here. I recommend you start with My Time at Portia. It's cheaper, and it's essentially something different, but in the same vein, offering you a lot more. Along with that, it's a much better gateway into enjoying these type of farming simulator slice-of-life games. However, on the opposite side, if you're a lover of these games, have a bunch of them in your library, like I am, and have been dying for a new one on top quality, this game is going to fit that bill, as long as you can fit the bill and pay that ludicrous price tag. I don't have to give this game a rating since this isn't a deep dive review, but if I had to give it a rating based solely on my almost 2 hours of gameplay, I'd have to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty darn good game, and I can easily find myself losing myself in this game and forgetting real life entirely for a brief moment. Is it worth that price tag? Not in my book. If you're on the fence and not sure if you should buy it, if the price tag is looking a bit too pricey for you, my recommendation would be to wait for a sale. But if you're like me and love this kind of stuff and just happen to have some money lying around that you could spend, then you might want to consider biting the bullet, because this game is pretty darn great so far. And I'm only 2 hours in. I intend to jump right back into it once I'm done here so I can continue looking at it, playing at it, and experiencing it. In fact, I'm just going to end it now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope I was able to help some of you out there come to a decision, maybe help you figure out what it's about or if it's worth it, should you pay that money or not. And for those of you who weren't really interested but still checked out my video, thank you very much for your time, and I hope I was able to at least entertain you. So thank you again, everybody, for stopping by. I can't wait to see you guys again on my next adventure. Please let me know what you think down in the comments below, and until my next video, I bid you all farewell.